You're lying flat on your back on cold, packed Earth, 40,000 years before the first streetlight was ever built. Above you, the sky isn't a backdrop. It's alive, dense with points of light so bright they cast faint shadows across the ground. And the person beside you is pointing at one cluster, whispering a name for it that has been passed down for longer than any written language has existed. You don't know it yet, but this ceiling of light will outlive empires, outlive religions, outlast every person you will ever meet, and one day, most humans on Earth will forget how to see it at all. Today, roughly 80% of people on Earth live under skies so polluted with artificial light that they've never once seen the Milky Way with their own eyes. For nearly the entire span of human existence, over 95% of it, that same galaxy was the most familiar object in anyone's life, checked nightly, memorized completely, treated as something closer to a relative than a phenomenon studied through a telescope. So what did the people who watched those skies every single night actually believe the stars were? And why did we stop looking up the way they did? The earliest known star mapping isn't a myth passed down through storytellers. It's carved directly into bone. Archaeologist Alexander Marshack analyzed markings on a 25,000-year-old artifact and proposed they tracked lunar and celestial cycles long before agriculture, long before cities, long before anyone had invented a word for astronomy. Later, a cave ceiling at Lascaux, painted roughly 17,000 years ago, appears to mirror the star cluster we now call the Pleiades, positioned near a bull figure in almost the exact same arrangement seen in the real night sky above the cave. These weren't decorations made for beauty. They were records, built to survive the death of the person who made them. This is why you still glance up on a clear night and instinctively search for familiar shapes. Orion's Belt, the Big Dipper, even if you've long forgotten what they're actually called. Across nearly every ancient culture independently, separated by oceans and thousands of years, the stars were treated as ancestors, not gas giants. The Yolngu people of northern Australia describe the Milky Way as a river of sky camps where the spirits of the dead reside, waiting. In ancient Egypt, the star Sirius wasn't just tracked for curiosity. Its reappearance each year predicted the Nile's flood with such precision that priests built an entire calendar around it, as documented by Egyptologist E.C. Krupp. To lose someone was not to lose them completely. It was to relocate them upward, into a permanent address you could visit just by tilting your head back. This is why so many modern people, even those who consider themselves entirely non-religious, still describe deceased loved ones as up there or watching from the stars. The metaphor quietly outlived the belief system that built it. Stars weren't only spiritual, they were also the original GPS, centuries before anyone had a compass. Polynesian navigators crossed thousands of miles of open Pacific Ocean using nothing but star paths, wave patterns, and memorized rising points along the horizon. A system so precise that anthropologist Finney helped prove it could guide a voyage from Hawaii to Tahiti with zero modern instruments. A single wrong star meant missing an island entirely and dying somewhere in open water with no way back. This is why direction itself, the words east and west, are fossils of celestial memory. East literally meaning the place where the sun and stars are born each morning. Long before sundials, before water clocks, before anything mechanical existed, the stars had already built the first clocks humanity ever used. Babylonian astronomers were recording planetary positions on clay tablets by 1600 BCE, developing mathematical models precise enough to predict eclipses years in advance. Historian of science Otto Neugebauer showed that this Babylonian data later became the direct backbone of Greek astronomy, and eventually of ours. Every time you check a calendar app for today's date, you're relying on a lineage of observation that traces back to someone squinting at Venus 3,000 years ago, marking its position by hand. This is why the 7-day week still carries the names of celestial bodies in language after language. Saturn's Day, the Moon's Day, the Sun's Day, buried in plain sight in words we use without thinking. The stars didn't just guide sailors and mark time. They also carried entire moral systems. Many ancient cultures didn't separate astronomy from ethics. The sky was where consequences were written. The Babylonians linked planetary movements to omens about kings and harvests, recorded in cuneiform tablets known as the Enuma, Anu, and Lil, one of the oldest continuous scientific records in human history, according to historian Francesca Rockberg. In Mesoamerica, the Maya tracked Venus with such obsessive precision that its cycle dictated the timing of wars and coronations, as shown in the Dresden Codex. The sky wasn't just watched, it was consulted, almost like a second government that never slept and never lied. This is why phrases like, "it was written in the stars," still slip so naturally into everyday language, long after anyone believed a planet could decide a human life. For most of human history, the stars weren't distant, abstract, or optional. They were a ceiling, a map, a clock, a moral compass, and a graveyard for the people you loved, all functioning at once, every single night, for free. Then came the shift that severed that relationship almost completely: artificial light. Gas lamps spread through cities in the early 1800s, followed by electric streetlights in the early 1900s. And they didn't just illuminate the ground beneath people's feet, they erased the sky directly above their heads. Within only a few generations, a relationship maintained for hundreds of thousands of years simply went dark, replaced by ceilings, screens, and a horizon that now stops a few blocks away, instead of at the edge of the universe. We didn't lose the stars because we stopped caring about them. We lost them because we built a world bright enough to blind ourselves to it, trading 100,000 years of shared sky for a few hundred years of electric convenience, and forgetting, almost overnight, how to find our way home by simply looking up.